Hello everyone, you welcome to this edition of The Inside on EQUINOXE Television. I am Bable Jonathan. In this edition of the program, we're going to be looking at the growing phenomenon of abduction in the crisis-hit northwest and southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon. We will also talk about government's response to criticism and international pressure piling on the Yaoundé administration over the deepening situation in the northwest and southwest regions of the country, and of course the way out of the crisis. We will equally take a look at the situation on the ground and of course the way out of the current socio-political and security impasse. Meet our guest in some few seconds. Our guest in this edition of the program is a firebrand political leader, a fearless and outspoken politician, an outstanding top political leader in the Republic of Cameroon, the national chairman of the Social Democratic Front, SDF, political party, John Fundi, who was recently kidnapped and later released after several hours in captivity. Mr. Chairman, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Can you just tell us what happened on that day you were kidnapped on your way to Kumbu for the burial of Honorable Joseph Banazem?
I want to take this singular opportunity to thank and congratulate the press for celebrating the Press Freedom Day today because if we look at journalists all over the world, what they've suffered, what they've gone through, even in Cameroon here, where some of you are being stifled for telling the truth. And I'm happy that today is the EQUINOXE television coming to interview me, where a colleague of yours was ostracized and blamed, locked up, and the world had to shout, yell, freedom before she was ever released. So on this Press Freedom Day, I want to congratulate and wish all journalists in Cameroon a wonderful Press Freedom Day and wish them all the best and all the luck in their desperate efforts to do investigative journalism to bring out the truth for Cameroonians to see and know what is happening in our country.
All right, before we get into the details of your kidnapping, maybe you should give us or tell us your take or your opinion on the present situation of the press in Cameroon, notably with regards to freedom of the press.
Well, the press in Cameroon, I know the press will talk of their freedom and you have so many press organs today. I think that you do not come back to thank the SDF for what the SDF did, because the press freedom, the liberalization of press organs for you to come up with so many press organs came as a result of the liberty laws that the SDF came in, pressed and asked for, which is what you are enjoying today. So most often, I've been a bookseller in my life. When the professors buy books from you, read and have their degrees, when they are celebrating, they never think of the bookseller. As you of the press today, when you are talking about Press Freedom Day, you do not look back into history to see those that have contributed, even in a small way, to say thank you. But nonetheless, I think that we've worked together.
History has it on record that the Social Democratic Front, led by the charismatic John Fundi, fought for not only press freedom, but freedoms in general, and of course many other things that Cameroon is enjoying today. But some critics think that the press in Cameroon is not free.
Yeah, the press in Cameroon is not free because most of you now take the press as a bargaining factor, where some press organs don't tell the truth. For instance, during my kidnap, you people in the press were divided into two factions. Some said my kidnap was pre-arranged. Others said it was pre-arranged because you saw me so relaxed. Others said that no, This is a thing that FRU never knew. And before then, before these arguments came up, I had my phone with me. They didn't call me to find out what was happening. People went into the air, even with some so-called politicians. They went to announce that I'd been kidnapped, I'd been released. Or it was a ploy for me to bounce back into the limelight. I don't look for cheap popularity in my life.
All right.
So because for the press to start writing things without investigating, it hurts me because I believe in the investigative press. Because when you investigate, you tell people nothing but the truth.
All right, we'll certainly be coming back to that in a short while. But first, we really want to get it from the horse's mouth. What happened?
The remains of Honorable Joseph Banazim got to this compound early Saturday morning, where we had to break the traditional protocols to feed people here with the corpse laid in state there. Because we knew that the people who were to live here for Kumbo might reach and not be able to have something to eat as early as they would love to. I returned from hospital 2 weeks ago, still weak and tired. But because of the services that Banazim rendered to me as his national chairman, he called me father, daddy. And when his mother died in So, he said, no other person will talk than the chairman who is my father. And as I told people here, when I met him in his last days in bed, he called me daddy 3 times, licked his lips, struggled to give out a dry smile, and tried to talk, he couldn't. And I kept that eye contact with Banazim. As I was looking at him straight into his eyes, I saw life fading away. When I left that day, I knew that he was gone. So, no matter how weak I felt after returning from hospital, I had to go to bury Banazim.
Despite the threats?
Despite the threats, despite my tiredness, despite my not feeling very well. And I have, my sixth sense tells me that if I never went to So for his burial, the Amber boys could have toyed around with Banazim's corpse. They could have maybe seized his corpse to ask for ransom. Despite the threats, I could not let Banazim's remains go to So without me being a witness to throw my soil on him, to wish somebody who was a son to me goodbye. And on the way, I'm happy I went. When we climbed the Wainama Hills, we met with the first group of Ambers who took the convoy. They allowed all the other passenger vehicles pass go. They took us in. I was sitting in my car. And when they removed Mrs. Banazim to move on foot, I called her to enter the hearse. So she entered there, sat near the husband, so they drove us. Went a distance about 1 kilometer or so and a fraction. They said, they apologized that they were sorry. They had to bring us in because they heard that I was coming with members of the armed forces undercover. And when they looked, they did not see one. So we left there. As we got to Sup, precisely near late Fonkam Shank's home, we saw another fleet of Amber boys again with their guns. Some even fired their guns in the air. I said, listen, that you, as soon as you halt people, you start firing guns in the air, doesn't speak well. So when I halted, they came to me and said the convoy could go. They want to take me, have a brief chat with me before we continue. I said, fine. why don't you let me go bury Banazim before we go have a chat? He said, no, Chairman, will not be long. I said, okay, let's go. Because if I started struggling there, that I must go and bury Banazim before I come talk to you people, it seemed as if I was afraid. I've never been afraid. So they said our talking point was near the late Kilo's school, just across. When we got there, they said we should go further down. We went. So in the end, we ended up driving for about between 5 to 7 kilometers. Maybe my sense of judgment might be wrong, but we went quite a distance off the main road.
And you were in captivity for over 5 hours.
Maybe 6.5 or 7 hours.
What were you talking with them? What were they saying?
First, they took us to this house and said they were going to finish their meeting. Because they first told us that the other leaders were in a house having a meeting. So we were going to meet them. So I was going happily, hoping that I was going to meet all of them in the meeting house. But they diverted, took us to another place where they put us in a room and put me a little distance off the door where people could see me. We were sitting in there. So they said we were going to conclude their meeting with the other leaders, then come meet us or take us to meet them. So I said, okay, but a gentleman interviewed us. I said, you cannot be interviewing us, you alone. He said, he wants to take some basic information to the other leaders before they come meet us again. And my suspicion is that the first interviews that he made, he went and they were communicating with people abroad. Because my brother was still in captivity. And he told me that he had been warned that as I was going to Nsor, they were going to kidnap me there. And that when they kidnapped me in Nsor, they were going to bring me back to the camp where they were in Bafut, so that they'll have 2 brothers and 2 workers, 4 of us, and then they'll see what Frundi will do. I told him that the struggle was not decided for Frundi to be kidnapped or to be tortured or to see. The young people coming in now are just treading on the path that Frundi had trod before. This is a thing that Frundi started. And if people are talking today, Frundi sat very comfortable in the meeting, in the house where they were interviewing him. He was not perturbed, he was drinking him. The Ambas entertained him. The Ambas searched my car in my absence. I had 2 cans of Pepsi in the car. They removed 1 drunk. So I told my driver that he should bring 1, let me drink, because I'm diabetic. So.
What did they tell you, Mr. Chairman?
1, if Joe Weber dies, will you give him the burial you are giving Banazim? So I asked him, but where's Joe Weber now that you're asking if he dies? He should be here with me. Banazim has not been helping us. I said, but that's the parliamentarian people gave me. And I know that he's doing things in Bui here. And if parliamentarians had to help you, it should be a parliamentarian from Jakiri, Joe Weber. He said, but why are you not supporting Joe Weber? I said, first, Joe Weber is not here. And when I started, in the 90s, before we launched the party, they had sent over 2,000 troops into this town. The late Archbishop of Bamenda came here with late Father Adeso to plead that I should postpone the launching. Late Pa Foncha called, late Pa Muna wrote, pleading that I should postpone the launching. I knew, and rightly so, that if we had postponed the launching, I was going to be arrested, and you know Cameroon, good at bringing up trumped-up charges on people. So I was able to do these things under those conditions, to launch a party and stood my grounds and stayed in the country. Weber has immunity as a parliamentarian. I had no immunity then. But if I were able to stand up to where we are today, I do not see why a young man, energetic, and you young people are crying every day, oh, You, the older people, hand to the younger people. The younger people, again, are running away and letting things happen the way they're happening. I said, first Weber is not here. So let him die the day he dies. But the prayers are that we, the older people, should die for you, the younger people, to bury us. Than a person asking me, if Weber dies today, what will you do? I don't pray for Weber to die.
Mr. Chairman, those who abducted you stand for separation, stand for division. They are fighting for the independence of the former Southern Cameroons. But you and the Social Democratic Front stand for federalism. Was that not one of the issues that brought you into
right? If we stand for federalism, which we do, it is a matter of discussion. And when we came up with the federal options, we never forced people. We never held people hostage. You must support what I'm telling you. We never cut people's fingers. We never cut people's hands. We never destroyed properties for people to support us. We called for people to support us, and that if people saw that I have stolen, I've cheated, I have properties, instead of you destroying the properties, keep the properties and use them for your government when you do come. So there are people who want separation. There are people who want federation. There are people who want what Mr. Biya is saying as
decentralization.
Decentralization, which I don't see how it's taking place. So all these shades of opinions. At a BBC interview, I called on the Anglophone leaders, West Cameroon leaders, that they should let us meet somewhere, anywhere in the world, in Nigeria, in South Africa, in America, or in Europe. Talk and chat the way forward. Nobody has ever called me till today. And I told the Amber boys who arrested me that when you say you're Ambazonia, I know that I'm a West Cameroonian. Because the name Ambazonia, I have my quarrel with. So, but I am a West Cameroonian.
What's your quarrel with the name Ambazonia, Mr. Chairman?
The name Ambazonia has not been gazetted anywhere. I think we should follow legality. Well, I might be wrong here, but please, I'm an Anglophone. I'm a West Cameroonian. And I want to start my argument from that angle.
All right. So, those who abducted you, did they compel you in any way to abandon your federalist stand to join them?
No, they didn't. When they opened up for discussions, first they tried to keep me incommunicado because the deputy mayor of Kumbo came to the area where we were. They tried to block me in the house that he should not see me. I heard his voice out, and they were communicating all in so. When I heard that their voices were rising into a sort of argument or debate or so, I had to blow my whistle to let the man know that I was in. I had to blow this flute. So, when I blew this flute, they all burst out laughing, and the deputy mayor of Kumbo came in. When he came in, I said, Mr. Mayor, please, go tell the people that they should go ahead with the burial of Banazim. I am okay. My abductors have told me to wait here. They were holding a meeting some distance off with the other leaders before they come back to me. And I suspected that the meeting they were holding to come back to me was to study what I'd said in the brief first part of the interview, and also communicating with their sponsors abroad. They were communicating. So, and when phone calls came from abroad, you'll hear they will speak in English. But when they were communicating among themselves, it was in the Lamso. So, they said, but one of the things they're out for is that the SDF should leave Parliament. I said, no, your son here, Joe Weber, is also of the opinion that the SDF should leave Parliament. But we should take note that Joe Weber talked well and articulated what he said because he was on the floor of Parliament, and that had meaning. Without him being in Parliament, he couldn't have talked anyway for people, for that talk to have the effect that it had. So, by the way, where is he now? When he came to Nso and said, you people should resist. And you say I should follow him. I should now follow him, go abroad and stay there.
No, they told the chairman that the parliamentarians or members of parliament of the Social Democratic Front in the lower and upper houses of parliament should quit. What is Mr. Chairman saying about it? Are you ready to call them out?
I cannot, underlined, because Wiba was able to talk, and for that talk to have meaning, because he was on the floor of Parliament. And it is in Parliament that laws are made. And these people have to be in Parliament to check all those laws, even if they don't have an effect, their voices don't have an effect. Their voices will come to the people to know that this is what Parliament is proposing, this is what our own people in are proposing, and this is what we think is right for the people. We are there as a voice of the people. And if we went out of Parliament, went out of Senate, went out of Council, I don't think that will be listened to anywhere. Will not be listened to anywhere.
Now, some critics think that you have been mounting pressure on the in the lower house of Parliament and even in the upper house of Parliament for the Anglophone crisis, for example, to be put on the table as a matter of urgency to no avail. You have been mounting pressure on a number of issues that are not going well in Parliament to no avail. So the only option they think is to quit.
Now, when you quit, how do you mount the pressure? How do people know what is hurting you? We are mounting the pressures, even if they are to no avail. There's some lone voice there talking to say, please take note, this is wrong. We are there talking. And we'll have to keep talking, and we'll have to keep pointing this out to the people. And that's precisely what we're doing. So I do not see how you will tell me, come out of Parliament, I come out, sit. Come out of Senate, I come out and sit. And the other aspect, Mr. Journalist, is that you have the CPDM and the SDF in Parliament and other political parties. But the Anglophone call is on SDF, send your parliamentarians out of Parliament. FRU, send your parliamentarians out of Parliament. They're not even calling on the Anglophone CPDM parliamentarians to get out of Parliament. No, you don't hear them mentioned anywhere. It is FRU. Even these boys who abducted me told me that we'll see how Awudu will pass and go to Kambe. I say, sir, I now understand the game. So CPDM parliamentarians will go to CPDM people will go to Nkambe, organize march passes, organize occasions in Nkambe, come pass here and go back. Then you are here trapping Frundi and Awudu. If Awudu comes here, you'll see how you will go. So it's turned from an Anglophone fight to an SDF CPDM fight. If that's the case, let them come out rightly and correctly. So when I slept in So, the following morning I drove around a little bit to see the destructions that have been caused in So. They hurt me. I'm very hurt. The forces are blaming Ambazonians. The Ambazonians are blaming the forces. But down the Sabga Hill, I saw these heavy trucks of Alhaji Baba's tea burnt there. Please, look at me well. I do not believe in the destruction of properties. If you took that tea, sold it, you'll have monies to run your course than to burn the trucks and the tea. It's the same thing when I see heads of state burn ivory. The poachers have killed your elephants. They've removed the ivory. If you burn those ivories, you are losing two things, the elephants and the ivory tusks. I am of the opinion that when these things are caught, sell them and use the money to do one thing or the other in the state. Because if you don't sell them, you burn them, you've still lost and you will not get those elephants back. They burn the tea and the trucks. But if they sold the tea or even had a place to auction the trucks somewhere. They should do it and have the monies to do something and not just to destroy them the way they did. Jonathan, I am out condemning the wanton destruction of properties by both camps.
Right.
That the Amazonians are doing it and government forces are doing it, even burning old people in their homes. How do you think that I'll ever support that in my life?
Earlier you were talking about the reports concerning your abduction in some press organs, and the first vice president of the SDF, Honorable O.C. Joshua, condemned the attitude and the information published by some press organs who were seemingly saying that your abduction was kind of a drama. Well, what do you have to say about this, Mr.
No,
Chairman?
well, let them try to dramatize it that way. Some said I was very comfortable with them. Some said I'd arranged it and they entertained me. I was having a drink from them. They took my drinks. I had 2 cans of Pepsi. They should look at replay the tape, and you'll see that I was drinking Pepsi. Because I was entertaining people here and I did not eat, my housemate wrapped some chickens for me. Wrapped a few pieces of chicken for me to eat. When they searched the car in my absence, in the absence of my driver, they took the chicken, they took a can of Pepsi out of 2. They took a 5,000 note that I had in front of my car. They took these things. So, I couldn't have arranged with them to abduct me. To gain what? Now, the information that reached me was that the first person to announce that had been released at about 3 p.m., when I had not even started with the interrogations with them, was Akeremona. And if my junior brother, locked up in the camp in Bafut, knew that I was going to be abducted in So, and they abduct me, and Akeremona was the first to say that he had been released. It means that it's a thing they arranged, that Frundi must be abducted. And when these boys were talking to the outside world, I don't know whether they were talking to people in Europe, America, or to their sponsors here in Cameroon. How did Akere know that I was abducted in the first place and knew when I was released? I was released at about 6:30, something to 7 in the evening. But that's somebody who said that I had already been released. How did he know? So these are the type of things that people come into politics, not to do the politics, but to fight certain individuals. And their target has always been the SDF. In the camp.
Are you saying that some people were in the dark, masterminding some information?
And rightly so, too. Because Akeremona had never spoken to me for how many years? I met with him when the brothers' remains came from France. It is for the first time that Akeremona came, embraced me at the airport lounge and wept. I said, well, courage. I've come to bid Wally goodbye. Now, if Akere, because my phone was with me for some time, and I answered a few calls. If by that time that Akere was saying that I had been released, if he had my number to call, he could have known that I was in captivity. But for him to say outrightly and tell the world that Frundi has been released, it's the same thing that when they fired at me in Bafusam and shot my leg, and whenever I travel and sit for long with this leg, it gets swollen. When they shot at me, Ben Muna was the first person to say that. I said they shot at me, but they came. He never saw where they shot, where I was shot. So what is my quarrel with them? I want from this interview for them to clarify what my quarrel with them is. I don't know what I've done to Akere. He came and decided to join Camp 2. And Ben wanted to take over the SDF. And when all these things failed, let us fight Frundi. Okay. The Anglophone fight is about Anglophone repression, the Anglophones being cheated in Cameroon, the Anglophones being taken for granted, the Anglophones being minimized, dehumanized in our own in a country we call ours. The Anglophone cause, Jonathan, is very dear to me. But when people take it as a big joke, I just feel sorry for them.
And those who took it as a joke, as a drama, were a certain number of newspapers who some critics suspected that somebody instigated the reporting on your kidnapping to look like it was a drama. Somebody somewhere paid those newspapers. Do you have any information about this?
Well, I was being told, and they tried to give me the captions of from some of the newspapers. But please, when we started, I told you that I believe in investigative journalism. While wishing you a happy Press Freedom Day, I said I believe in investigative journalism. These journalists could have called the mayor of Kumbu and a few other people that were free to know what was happening. They never called, but they went out to say that that thing was masterminded by Frundi, this and that. When I launched the party here in 1990, I told you that there were 2,000 troops in this town that came to block me. But I still launched the party. When I launched the party, what is it that they started saying? Oh, what party is it? How can the chairman of the party is Baba, the secretary general is Baba, everything is Baba? But if two Baba people had the courage to do it, to launch a party, for them to come support, they sat down criticizing. And today, some of the people are abroad and still trying to cause factions in even the Anglophone cause. You are talking about Amazonia. Do they belong to one cause to say, here we are, all of us are here, we belong to one cause, we are fighting about this? But you see them fighting for themselves and poisoning people. Because a couple of people have died and they told me that they were poisoned by some of the factions. I remember I was poisoned in this house once. My wife collapsed and died, suffering in all these things. Is this the society we want to build, thinking of killing? I believe in a free society. And you people say we are talking of the force of argument and not the argument of force. Now, and you don't give room for us to carry out those arguments and see who has a better argument for a way forward. If we see that you have a better argument for the way forward, we try it. If we fail, we then try the other one. But I sit here and people tell me that Frundi, get out of parliament, get out of this. Tell me, why is it that it's only Frundi and the SDF? Why are they not using the same force, telling the CPDM parliamentarians and senators and councillors and mayors what to do? I felt really delighted and relieved when I saw Chief Mokete in Senate blasting and pointing with his walking stick. Even if his blast is coming late, but at last it's come. Can we start reasoning together what we can do to move forward?
All right. Mr. Chairman, in a short while, we're going to look at the phenomenon of kidnapping from a global perspective, notably talking about officials and other persons who have been kidnapped, like the Vice President of the Senate. But first, you were kidnapped on your way to Kumbu for the burial of Honorable Joseph Banazem, and that burial took place. That was the burial of a senior state official. Was there any administrative authority present? Was there any sign of national homage being paid to that parliamentarian?
Now, the Etat-Major of the Northwest came here to pay their respect. And they wanted to give us escort to go to Kumbu. I refused. Because if I took escort, it means I am afraid of the Amazonians. And when this thing happened in Kumbu, the SDF of Kumbu, I'm thankful to him, proposed giving me an escort to bring me back here. I said, no, I want to come back the way I came to Kumbu. No escort. And of course, on my way back, I still met the boys. I said, you've come to take me. I've put on my traveling shoes. This time we'll trek on foot. They said, no, Pa, we are doing the work that you people tell us that we should do. I said, but then, if it's we people who are telling you what to do, also ask. I believe in dialogue. You've told me what you think is wrong. I've told you why I'm doing things the way I'm doing.
All right, Mr.
I think that by the next time we meet, we'll have a better understanding than what we did this time.
All right, we're going to take the press review by For Me Armstrong Sander, and we'll be right back in some few minutes.
This Sun Monday, April 29, 2019, after release from captivity, Defiant Frundi says SDF MPs won't resign. The Garden Post, Frundi tells kidnappers, SDF withdrawal from parliament, not solution to Anglophone crisis. The Star, Anglophone crisis, Frundi lists losses in attacks. Similar story on the Independent Observer. Separatists promise darker days for Frundi. On a different story, The Voice said Governor Okalia belies colonial arrogance. Southern kings reject wild dog tactics. The Post, Governor Okalia humiliates Southwest chiefs again. Logidion, Governor tells Southwest chiefs to march or be dethroned. The Guardian Post, fire for fire. Southwest chiefs strike back at Governor Okalia belie. The Post Weekender, over 100 gendarmes sanctioned for torture, abuses, corruption. In another edition, the Guardian Post said ending arms conflict in Northwest Southwest. International Crisis Group urges government separatists to make key concessions. The Green Reporter said British government is worried over bushmeat as civil war claims lives in Northwest Southwest. Trial of Sisi Kwayuk Tabe and Co. The Guardian Post said deadlock persists as accused defense team boycott again. Eden, government fumes over European Union Parliament's report. Cameroon Herald, 100 days of Chief John Gute at Star Building, the mantle of responsibility, the mantle of leadership.
Thanks For Me Armstrong Sander for the press review. Mr. Chairman of the Social Democratic Front, before you were kidnapped, the Vice President of the Senate was kidnapped. What information do we have about her today?
Now, I'm very sorry for that poor woman, that she was traumatized, because she's a brave woman. I know her, I trust her. She's a brave woman. And they kidnapped her right at the corner of the compound here, not up to 10, 15 meters away from this compound. And when this happened, I told myself that they're trying to get right into my bedroom, and which the following day they got right into the bedroom, and I was kidnapped. They all center on the SDF. I want to know from the Amazonian fighters what the SDF has done. If they think that you can kidnap Frundi, kill him, cut his head and hang on the roadside, and that will bring you victory on the cause, please do it and let this thing end for Cameroonians to be free. After all, Jesus died for our own sins and saved us. So somebody somewhere has to die for a cause.
Where's the Vice President of the Senate today? What is her state of mind?
She was released a few hours thereafter. She was released about 2-3 hours. So, but she was traumatized. Now, the Anglophone cause has been diverted into kidnapping and asking for ransom. Is that what they set out to do? Between January and now, I've lost over 105 cows. They abducted my sister. They abducted my brother twice. They burnt my compound in the village down to earth, raised it down to ashes. They set fire on the compound here. And I'm told that those so-called Amazonians in Baba, before they burned the compound, they phoned their mentors abroad. A man, I'm told, is going under the acronym as Pope. Pope said, raise that compound down to ashes and teach Frunde a lesson. And the boy who was championing this was a rapist in Baba. He had raped women in Baba. The Tekwimbo in Baba had made a curse on him, shot him with kata. Lawyer Sama Francis, he went to the compound and raped the wife of the guard, the yardman there. Sama came, shot him on the leg with his gun. But he said he was going to burn my compound, burn Francis Sama's compound, burn my junior brother's compound a little above, and they will abduct my sister, kill her, burn her to ashes, and grind what we'll call chop with the remains of my sister. Is that what we are out for?
And the phenomenon of kidnapping has been growing over time,
Yes.
with officials being abducted, simple civilians being abducted, and so on. But there is a question: who is doing what? Who is doing what? There are some accusations pointing towards, accusing fingers pointing towards the pro-independence fighters, some pointing towards the military, some pointing towards another group of persons referred to as bandits who are not even part of the cause.
Now, you have people who've taken advantage of the struggle. The other day, my physiotherapist, staying not far from here, called me and said they were at the door banging that I should stand up and give them money. About 3 weeks ago, my nephew or niece, Kathy Famala, called that they break into a house, looted, and they went away with 400,000. And they are now going all over, breaking into people's homes and looting and hijacking and taking monies. When you have to abduct people, when you have to sit down here, listen to people abroad giving instructions. Please, let me make this point very clear. The leaders of the Amazonian cause abroad, they formed a government, or they formed a couple of governments. You do not see anybody in Cameroon or you've ever seen? Okay. You've not seen any Cameroonian, anybody back home that he is Minister of Justice or Minister of this or Minister of that. They've never done that. They put their people abroad all. Please, I might not be able to decipher this well, but are you telling me that if things were to go well, the secession comes today, the freedom comes today, you'll form a government from abroad, bring and just say Cameroonians right and left and forward march? There's nobody in the country who has a say or who's contributed anything in any way whatsoever. Is that what we're talking about? Are those people abroad telling the truth to Cameroonians? They said they are going to the United Nations. I've been to the United Nations more than 3 times. Oh, we're going to the White House. I've been there. They are going to Bundestag. I've been there. We are going to the Commonwealth. I've been to the Commonwealth about 4 or 5 times. When the former French President Sarkozy, came to Cameroon, the one person he met was me. Looked at me and said, Mr. Chairman, you might not know me again, but as Secretary of the Socialist Party, I'd received you in Paris 3 times. So I've been out propagating the problems of the country. I might have been talking about federation then, but I expanded on the Anglophone suffering in the country. So the Anglophone suffering is not a thing that some people are bringing now. It's a thing that people know. It's been said repeatedly. And we are still fighting for it, that And that's why the SDF came and said, power to the people and equal opportunities. Because Anglophones in this country were not being given equal opportunities. We have our own approaches and our own way of saying things. If you have a different view, let us sit down and look for a common cause. And not to sit out somewhere and they start organizing poisonings, which a couple of children have died out of poisoning. The first ambas to block me on the way were the ambas of Bafut. When I saw those children, I felt sorry. I really felt sorry. Now, but they took the people's phones, they took the ID cards and put them together. When the road was clear for people to move, they called us. Everybody came, identified his phone and his ID card and took. They asked no ransom. And I gave praises to the ambas in Bafut. But today is the same ambas from the same area. Because Bafut, as big as it is, you now have each quarter has amber. Each small village has amber. And they tell you, support us. You are not supporting us. You are a black leg. I told them that some of them are the blackest of legs because they deal with Njiatanga. And they deal with top government officials. So they say, you Babila, we know you. You are a black leg. You've not. What have you done?
Do you mean, Mr. Chairman, that they deal with Minister Tanganji and top government officials?
That's what is understood and being said and said loudly. That the top government officials went to prison and took hardened criminals, gave them guns to go form a counter amber to downplay the Anglophone cause. And that's why those ministers said there was no Anglophone problem. They said it before. It's not me who said it. There was no Anglophone problem. But what surprises us and hurts us very badly is that Mr. Biya himself made the very people that you go solve the Anglophone problem. Somebody tells you that there's no problem, you tell him to go and solve the problem that he doesn't know. So they took the Anglophone issue as a joke. And the Anglophone issue started in a very simple way. The teachers complained, the lawyers complained. Please, this is what is happening to us in courts. This is what is happening to us in the schools. Can we sit down and talk? I thank Mr. Biya. He sent his prime minister. They came, sat down, analyzed, and agreed on a couple of points, which Mr. Biya had to sign to be affected. But instead of these things being signed to be affected, which they closed on a Saturday, that the things were going to be signed on a Wednesday. But on Tuesday, they called for the arrest of the members of the consortium. And that's why all of them went on the run.
We're going to take interviews of the week right now.
Journalists have understood and mastered their role in understanding that the story has to be told. And the story has to be told not from a distance. It is more challenging even for the journalist, who is not supposed to just be in his backyard, who is supposed to be out there telling the story as it is. We now know that event organizers have left the region. We know that not even government events are pre-announced. We know that news sources are indeed in short supply.
There is too much work for journalists to do here, and for that simple reason, if you have the basics to survive with, you will definitely always want to stay here because there are too many stories to be told. The humanitarian needs increase by the day, displacements increase by the day, and so you need to be here to tell the story. The issue of credibility is at stake, attributions are absent, and mobility is a major difficulty with journalists. You have to now create local groups that you trust, create friends on the ground that you can rely on if you must cover up to 50% of the region. Because anybody without those opportunities will cover less than 20% because we'll only be walking around the city center here.
Well, what keeps me on the ground is the quest for news. Though the scope of coverage has been reduced, you know, we have 7 divisions in the Northwest region, and for now, I think we cover, I say less than one because we are just reduced to Bamenda. We can't go out of Bamenda, the other subdivisions of Mesam division. There are 7 of them, but I can say we cover only 3.
land.
Pest diseases or pest damage caused a loss of crops, about 40% loss of crops in Africa and in Cameroon in particular.
We try to manage the good practice to fight again this problem and to harmonize our legislation standard. We exchange our products between Africa and other continents.
Before talking about infrastructure, you have to have people, skilled people who have the ability, who have been trained to do the job. If you have infrastructure but without people who have been trained, you can't do anything. So I think this can be the second step. The first one was the training of the people. This is the second batch. There was a first batch. And we think that since now we have a lot of people who have been trained, who have been given training by the people of the Marine, we think that the problem of infrastructure will be tackled. I talked about that in my address, and I think this is one of the things we are going to do right now.
Cameroon state has the opportunity to be part of a broader market base. In the past, you only had the Cameroonian financial market that could do operations only in Cameroon and with other partners like Nigeria and so on and so forth. But Cameroon is part of a union, of an economic union. So it was a long time coming that Cameroon joined Gabon, Congo, Central Africa, Chad to be part of the great economical unity that we have. And it's only now that the heads of states have accepted that the two come together as one. So the CMF is closing now, and the activities will be brought in Libreville. The stock exchange will stay in Douala, and the stock exchange that existed in Libreville will close also. It's a partnership. Nothing is, it's not one side who abolishes one thing and gives up one thing for the other. It's a joint effort. Right. The regional market is estimated at 2,000 billion CFA. Okay, so it's a huge market. The potential is huge, and we need to have this unity in order to. You need credibility in a market. In order to seize all this money, you need to attract people, and to attract people, we need to show a united front. There weren't a lot of companies operating either in Cameroon or in Libreville. Right now, we will have more and more. We are working so that more and more companies can come on the financial market. And what we're telling those companies is that we have a potential of 2,000 billion CFA to finance your economic needs, your development needs, your investment needs. So we're telling even the smallest company, come to the market, come take part with us in the development of this market. They will inevitably take advantage of it.
The Minister of Communication and Government spokesperson qualified resolutions of the European Union Parliament on the Anglophone crisis as biased, unfounded, with a hidden agenda. What do you think about government's stance and response to criticism and international pressure?
The government's position is like somebody who steals 10 million because he's wearing a traditional dress, he hides it under his pants and tell you that I've not stolen, yet the money is bulging and showing out. And he knows that you are looking at the money. He says, I've not stolen, I don't have anything on me. What has the Cameroon government ever done to show that they are remorseful in one thing that they've done? When they women with children in the north, the government spokesperson went to the air to say that nothing was done. When they shot and killed the people in Menka in Pinyin. I took journalists from here. Let's go, journalists. Go to the spot. Go there and see for yourself and report to the world what you've seen. And of course, your boys, some of your colleagues, came out with good reports to show the world that this is what happened in Cameroon. What angered me about the Pinyin massacre was that completely encircled the house in which the boys and girls were. And some of the girls were girls that they abducted. And their own agents they signaled them to run out. So 2 boys and a girl ran out. They said the leaders ran out. You are coming to take people who've been taken hostage or to capture a place. People run out, they say it's the leadership. How did that leadership know to run out? How did you know that those who ran out were the leaders? So the government of Cameroon never will come out to tell you the truth. And from 1990 up to where we are, when I launched a party here, they said the party was launched by Nigerians. I brought 10,000 Nigerians in to launch a party. I said, look, excuse me, Mr. Government spokesperson, if I bring 10,000 people from Nigeria, have you ever calculated how many buses I will need to bring these 10,000 people from Nigeria in? Secondly, have you checked how many hotels I will use to host these 10,000 people, the feeding, etc.? And these 10,000 people passed where? Not at the borders. You didn't arrest one of them. Then again they said, I had escaped to Nigeria.
Mr. Chairman,
and
that government is hiding the truth?
I'm telling you, all this is to show you systematically that from day one, the government of Mr. Biya has been telling lies, making untrue stories to the world, which is not good for us. If they challenge European Parliament, the European Parliament does not only come out to talk. You have the European ambassador here. They send their own people to the field to find out what is happening. There are other ambassadors. Outside the principal European ambassador, you have other European countries with their own ambassadors here. And when they sit in their meetings, they analyze issues. This has happened here, we've seen this, we've seen that. And the pictures that are going viral on the social media, they are living witnesses. Then you tell me that, oh, they're lying.
International bodies accuse the pro-independence fighters and the military of committing atrocities in the northwest and southwest regions, but government says the military has been professional.
Well, thank you, thank you. When the military themselves filmed the killing of a separatist in Bello, where a soldier was there cutting the head of that poor boy with rastas, where the soldier tore his stomach and removed his heart. All these barbaric scenes were filmed. And there are other scenes filmed, even filmed by the soldiers themselves. So how can somebody sit in Yaoundé and say that they are telling lies? They're professional. I'm telling you that till today, CRTV up here has never been to Pinyin to find out what happened, where and how. And when I went to Pinyin with your colleagues, for instance, I came back here, and when President Musonge came here with his team, I was so angry and so worked up that I told him that if I were 50, I could have gone to the bush to fight, because I saw the wicked way in which the corpses were mutilated, that you shot a person to death, and you take your gun again and you char the body with up and down, scatter the face, that is terribly inhuman. That when you even kill, you have to bring them together to burn. I don't know where this type of barbaric actions are coming from. We are living in an open world now, a world of technology. And what happens here? You are interviewing me now. If you are sending it out to the air, in the next 30 minutes, the world will know what we are talking here. So they still think that Cameroon is that dark age country where they don't have anything to say.
And in the Despite the worsening situation, elections, municipal, legislative, and regional elections are announced this year. Will the SDF take part?
We've made our position very, very clear that under the present dispensation, we cannot go in for any elections. Let Mr. Babia just take all that he's wanted to take, 100% to show Frundi that I'm above you in this, I'm above you in that. Let him take and go ahead. It's shameful that at this age, with other presidents in the world of his age, they are tampering their people and handing over gradually going, but Mr. Biya still wants to flex up and show that I'm the leader. Lead well and let Cameroonians appreciate what you are doing.
You're criticizing long stay in power, but you have been the chairman of the SDF since it was launched in 1995 till date. People are also criticizing you for your decades-old leadership of the party.
Fine. The people are criticizing. I formed the party, but I did not go in as a mayor or a councillor. I didn't go in as a parliamentarian or to start fighting for parliamentary positions. I didn't go in as a senator. I sent the younger people to go, to drill themselves, school themselves. Of recent, I handed over the baton of the presidential race to a younger person. That was a gradual way for me exiting out. I'm only chairing meetings now. Am I in parliament? Am I in senate? Am I in council? So what are we talking about?
Mr. Chairman,
how much is government paying me? Have I a salary from government?
Are you preparing to hand over the national chairmanship of the SDF to a younger person?
No, when you hand over the presidential flag, that is by far a bigger handover than a leader of a party who is just a mouthpiece talking. That was a better handover to say, please take the flag, go ahead. But when I did that, of course, some of your colleagues sat down. Oh, want to see how Joshua will do, whether he'll beat Frundi in his votes. He will do this. The matter was not between Joshua and Frundi. We're looking at the bigger picture of the country, Cameroon, that we need somebody who should lead Cameroon.
How soon will the SDF have another chairman apart from John Frundi?
I am not chairman by appointment. I'm chairman by vote. And I handed the baton because I found myself wearing out. You see this grayness. I'm proud showing it. But I have heads of states who are shaving their bodies to look smooth and clean so that you should not see any grayness on them. I saw the pictures of President Obama, President Clinton, President Bush, Senior, Junior, before they went to the White House, and 4 years after the White House, all of them went gray. But my own president for 30-something years is looking very well kept, and I thank him, I congratulate him that he's doing a good job.
We want to get John Frundi's own way out of the crisis. At this point in time, what should be done? By who?
Open, inclusive dialogue. Let Mr. Biya talk. The North and Southwest are not just an empty place. They have leaders. You have the chiefs in the Northwest as you have in the Southwest. You have political leaders in the Southwest as you have in the Northwest. Why can Mr. Biya not sit down to have an open dialogue with these people? He was made fun of once in the Northwest here. And when this thing started, I thought he was going to tell the funds that people made me fun of once. Was it just a masquerade that you tied sent ahead to laugh at? Or what do we do? Your children are saying this. What should we do? At least something could have been done. Look at Cardinal Tumi. He's made every effort to say, let us sit down somewhere and talk. It's a small mayor in Boya who tells Cardinal Tumi that you cannot come have a meeting here. Why is it like that? That we cannot talk? I challenge Mr. Biya. For 30-something years on seat, has he ever sat down like this with Cameroonians to say, look, I've been having this heat. Well, maybe it's not had any heat because he tells you that when Yaoundé breathes, Cameroon is okay. So the heat has not reached him because Yaoundé is still breathing. But take note that with Yaoundé breathing, The economy is gone in the whole country. People are suffering in the whole country. And one thing that I told your Amazonian fighters in the bush was that I am a strong advocate of children going to school. Because when we started with the SDF 20-something years ago, we never knew that 20-something years after we'll still be in the opposition. And what you started, you don't know how long it'll last. Now, this is the third year. Can you imagine your daughter who would pass to go into class 1? And 3 years after, she's still at home. She's developed. And before you realize, all the women and girls that ran out either in all these areas, those gone to Nigeria, they'll be coming with unwanted pregnancies. They'll be coming with unwanted babies. They'll be coming with all this. So you see, your society again will be proliferated with children with different characters. Because I'm a strong believer in the fact that when you deliver your child, that child will resemble you or pick certain character traits from you. And when these children will come here with all these character traits, give yourself 10, 12, 15 years, you will not be able to manage. So, and Mr. Biya has never sat down. We thought he missed a golden opportunity when we had a tripartite. But he ran out and handed it over to Prime Minister Ayato to manage. He's never had the opportunity to sit down and talk with the people. And when you even watch him chair cabinet meetings, it's off. Have we been able to sit down, debate? Minister of Agriculture, what are you talking? He tells you that the youth should go and do Android agriculture. And I still have that picture in my mind very clearly. When he said that, he smiled, he laughed, because he knew that what he was saying was not convinced. What is Android agriculture?
Mr. Chairman, you have a traditional musical instrument with you. Maybe we wrap up this edition of the program with some music from the chairman.
Well, it's a flute that was a sign of sending a message in the early days by our forefathers. And when this gentleman tried to block me from this view of my deputy mayor of Kumbo, I had to blow this for him to know that I was in there. And I went to Mali, where the Adema party there had their convention and invited me. When I went there, blew this. It was relayed over the BBC. And the journalist said, look, I'm proud to be an African because we can at least send our messages. And so when this gentleman came, stood out, they were trying to block me. I didn't want to start shouting in. All I did was I blew it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And the message was sent.
Thank you, John Frundi, Chairman of the Social Democratic Front, for receiving us.
I want to thank you very especially, Jonathan and your cameraman, for taking the pains to come up from the wall, and he virtually woke me out of bed. This is the journalism I look forward onto. Get the truth from the horse's mouth, throw it down, let people debate on. They might agree with you, they might not agree with you. But can we have some facts? When we talked of the human rights, the president of the human rights in Cameroon, Dr. Chemuta Banda, said he was worried that there are no war prisoners. Everybody that they catch, they're killing. And when they kill like this, they hide the facts. When you burn all people in their homes, you hide the facts. When you burn the barns with corn and everything, you are bringing hunger and inviting so much of unwanted things into the country. Where are we going to? I want to call on my fellow West Cameroonians that the leadership all over the world should come together. Let us strategize.
Thanks.
God bless you.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That's it for this edition of The Inside.